watching it go, buying low, selling high. Riding the wave, I'm here to stay, living in the digital age. No banks, no fees, just decentralized. It's crypto paradise. Ooh. No banks, no fees.
Good morning from Paradise Servers. It is Thursday, August 14th, and we are back with another daily live stream. Last night, looking at my phone, bam, Bitcoin, new all-time high. Yay, happy joy. Wake up this morning. Oh, little correction. Was $124,000 Bitcoin the top for this cycle? Absolutely not, friends. We are going much higher, and we'll talk about why on today's stream. A little bit of volatility today, let's call it. PPI data just came out, a little higher reading than expected. We'll get into some of those details. Scott Benson just came out with a little bit of a cold water on the party, but I don't think it really matters. We're going much higher this cycle, guys. So hang in there, stay locked in, and we are going to make it 2025. So, all right. I don't know if it registered, where you're at there, Nick, but Bitcoin did hit an all-time high yesterday. Didn't quite feel like it, though, did it? Didn't quite feel too exciting to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, people were excited, but nothing was really wild going on, so I don't know. Just didn't have the euphoria, which I guess is a good thing, because that means we're not coming to an end here, which is what a lot of people were fearing. Back in June, people were calling for a top. Then they're calling for a top at 120. Then we just went to another new all-time high. Now I'm sure they'll come out of the woodwork today as we see this sell-off, saying that Peter Brand is correct, and the top is already in, and we're not even going to make it to September.
World's going to end. September's not happening, guys. We'll all be dead. All right, well, Roan, by the way, shout out to you guys watching on the live stream here. Roan, popping in. Man who pen excel because of the PPI have very small PPIs. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to trade and you're panic selling on the data, the government data that comes in, good luck to you, bro. Good luck to you. Better to buy and hold over the long term, if we're talking about Bitcoin, that is, right? And even with altcoins, buy when they're low, sell when it's super frothy and the market's overheated. This doesn't have to be that complicated. Don't try to trade every data point that comes in. This PPI reading was interesting, though, because everyone and their mother, probably, if you were to ask them, hey, PPI reading came in a little hotter than expected. Well, what's your take on that? Well, it's got to have been the tariffs. I mean, it had to have been the tariffs in causing an increased cost on all our goods being imported from China, this, that, the other place. No, turns out it was services. Turns out it was services driving the increase on inflation in that particular report. So, very interesting. Sort of goes to our theory that the tariffs were a bit of a nothing burger and actually weighed on the economy more than caused inflation because businesses, and consumers a little bit scared in the early part of this year. So, very interesting report here. I don't know, Nick, if you had any further info and take on the PPI here, but to me, a bit of a nothing burger.
Yeah, not too much. Obviously, you could expect that the markets were going to react to the downside. Then, of course, today you're going to see all the political pundits on mainstream media saying it's tariffs, we told you. The ones who sold the exact low and were making fun of your 401k becoming a 201k, the ones who are sitting on a big pile of cash looking for an entry, and now they're going to say, see, I was right, it was tariffs. And even if they were right, you're 37% in the hole. So you being right left you 37% behind in the market, and then Truflation is here and digging in and saying, yes, there is some inflation from goods, but there's over 2x the inflation number of that of goods from services. So I would like to get a chance to go into Truflation, dig into what constitutes services, what counts towards that. Do they count your internet services? Do they count all these streaming services that continue to raise? Do they count your medical expenses? Like, what counts as services? But those, of course, aren't impacted by tariffs. Those are just going up over time due to inflation and greed from businesses. So
I refuse to buy that $40 a month nonsense package they just announced from ESPN, and I love sports. I want to watch NFL football, and I will find a way, but I will not be paying $40 a month, you assholes. That is beyond the pale.
Yeah.
Beyond the pale. They
Before we-
told us we break free from cable TV, and it would be such a revolution. And now I got to pay for like 50 streaming services.
That's
What a
literally
joke!
that's literally what I was gonna say before we dive into the Bitcoin and Ethereum charts. You know, you used to have one cable bill and one internet bill, and your internet was like $30 a month, and your cable bill was 100 or 150, and that's when they're like, oh my gosh, cable's way too expensive, and now you pay $100 for internet plus a cable bill plus ESPN, Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO, Paramount, Stars. I mean, the list goes. Apple TV, Netflix.
Well, you got to draw the line somewhere. You
Amazon
cannot pay
Prime.
for
It's
all of
like,
those things.
Jesus.
You can't pay for all
Unbelievable.
those things. You got to find your friend's passwords. I hope you're not listening, Tim Cook. Don't get mad at me for stealing my friend's Apple TV account. But look, prices continue to go up. I mean, that's just that's just the name of the game for hundreds of years. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Greed being one of them. Fiat currency values going down, down, down. That's another reason. But regardless, you got to be invested in these hard assets like Bitcoin, ETH, stock market, etc. But I don't think this, just to put a bow on this discussion on the PPI data, I do not think this changes one iota the Fed's decision to cut rates in September. The only question the Fed needs to be asking itself is whether we go with a 25 basis point cut or a 50 basis point cut. So I don't think this reading makes one bit of a difference. I think why did the market do what it did yesterday? My guess, and I didn't look into the data on this, maybe we got to have Taha from Frontier Fund on again, but anytime you see moves up, a quick move up, especially when you're talking about, we're hanging out around all-time high prices, and then the next day it's down 3 or 4, 5%, that's a lot of time leverage traders and leverage trading and the exchanges liquidating people, manipulating the price up real quick, back down the next day. So a lot of it, I think, is probably manipulation. I don't know that for a fact, but this PPI reading to me is a nothing burger and will not affect the Fed's decision one iota.
And we come over on the charts. Sorry, eating some breakfast here. We saw the Bitcoin bull flag breakout, the retest, and then we saw that minor new all-time high yesterday. Maybe that's because people are buying in, assuming this PPI would continue to be bullish, like we've seen with these other inflation numbers, and meet or beat the expectations. That wasn't the case. Quick sell-off happening here on Bitcoin. You want to hold this green line somewhere down here around $116,600. That would just be a bullish retest, and then you head towards the target of 130 to 133K Bitcoin. Now, ironic timing when you talk about manipulation. Obviously, leverage traders got liquidated. PPI data is going to call us a sell-off. We see that in Ethereum. But then Basent was also just on mainstream media talking about, hey, United States Strategic Reserve is going to hold Bitcoin, and they're going to take confiscated Bitcoin from criminals and add to it, but kind of inferred that they're not looking at ways to revalue different assets to buy more Bitcoin, and that adds fuel to the fire, as you're going to see that all over your Twitter feed as well. So ironic timing with the PPI information, the liquidations, and then, of course, Basent on there, not being hawkish per se, but definitely not being dovish on the future buying of Bitcoin for the United States Strategic Reserve.
Besson, just keep your mouth shut, bro. You don't make decisions. You get told what to do by President Donald J. Trump. If President Donald J. Trump wants the U.S. government to buy Bitcoin, well, goddamn it, we are going to buy Bitcoin. You guys know it's true. He controls the entire Republican Party. Everyone follows whatever he says. If he says this is what we're doing, this is what they're doing. So, Besson, don't speak out of turn, man. Just do what you're told. Okay? I like what you're doing with the tariffs. I like what you're doing with pressuring the Fed to cut rates. I like what you're doing in many respects. But stay in your lane, buddy. Stay in your lane. I don't know why he's got to throw cold water on this rally here, talking about why the U.S. government may or may not buy Bitcoin. Tom Lee, I'll throw out a counterpoint for you. Tom Lee, obviously we know who that is, founder of Fundstrat. He's also this chairman of BitMine, buying billions and billions of ETH. We got a couple stories around him in a bit, but he came out and said that he thinks strategy, that the U.S. government is kind of using MicroStrategy as almost a backdoor way of buying Bitcoin, like in the shadows. They're not buying it directly. Maybe they're somehow buying it through MicroStrategy. This is just a theory by Tom Lee. I don't think he has any evidence or data, but we'll put it out there. And because the U.S. government, if they were to actually overtly go out and buy Bitcoin, like, hey, U.S. government, we're buying $1 billion or $1 billion worth of Bitcoin today, shit would skyrocket to $1 million in like a matter of weeks or months. And so they don't want to look. They're not looking for that to happen. So maybe they're using MicroStrategy as a back door. Tom Lee said it. I'm just reporting. So he knows more than we do. But I don't like Scott Bessent speaking out of turn. It's Donald Trump's decision.
And if we go over here to the ETH chart, how is ETH acting? Stronger than Bitcoin is acting, probably because it doesn't have Bessent saying they're going to be selling their Ethereum at the same time of these PPI misses. But look what happened here. We had this triangle here. The breakout measure and move is this green line, which is right around $4,800. Where do we stop? Right around $4,800. Now, is this sell-off because of my TA that we go here live? Doubtful. It just happened to correlate with this bad PPI miss, which caused this waterfall effect. I think this is going to be short-lived, and we see a reconsolidation up here, and you have major support at $4,350. Of course, we tapped that. We fought to break through it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So this should serve as pretty good support on a retest if we even get down there. Again, I think I'm with you, Crypto Amaru. PPI information short-lived. We'll see what happens. Major support on Ethereum on a pullback to 43.50. And of course, there's companies that want to buy up this Ethereum. So that's interesting. The TA, the target, hit within like $20 before this PPI information. So shout out to Bessent for watching the show and making sure Ethereum sold all right up at that $4,800 target, I guess. How is the stock market acting today? NASDAQ is flat. So with all this Bitcoin sell-off, Bitcoin dropped 5%, Ethereum dropped 5%. NASDAQ is down 0.01%. The S&P 500, where's that at? Is down 0.15%. And the Dow Jones is actually up. No, the Dow Jones is down 0.3%. So Bitcoin down 5%, Ethereum down 5%, and the stocks are relatively flat, even with the PPI miss. I think that also points to short-lived volatility to the downside, and we continue higher, especially for Ethereum, showing strength here up the way.
Yeah, it's manipulation. Obviously, we know that Bitcoin, Ethereum, cryptos are always more volatile, so 4 or 5% moves. We just did like 60% move in Ethereum in like 2 weeks. So, I mean, what's a 5% correction? Calm down, everybody. But I will tell you why Ethereum is going higher. It's one man. One man's doing it. We talked about Tom Lee. What a Chad. Unreal. Look, that is not $24 million raise. That is a $24.5 billion raise to buy more ETH for Bitmine. That is insane. And we said this was going to happen, right? We said that as Ethereum begins to run, they're buying it up. It's causing the price to rise. That then raising future rounds for the likes of Bitmine, SharpLink, Ether Machine, ETHZilla, etc., becomes a lot easier. Because, hey, look, Mr. Investor, look at how well this is going. You invest in my company, you get some shares, this or that. We're going to buy the ETH. ETH is going to run. Your share value is going to go up. Let's keep doing it. Let's keep doing it until the music stops. So 24.5 billion. I don't know if he'll get it done. I don't know if he'll, because this is basically he's targeting 24. But this is an enormous amount of money. If we go to the strategic reserve chart, they only right now have about $1 billion, I think, worth of Ethereum. 1.5 billion, if I'm not mistaken. They're the leader. They are the absolute leader in this race, this arms race of acquiring ETH. But they only have $1 billion. So now you're talking about like 5x, like what, 20xing this? Oh no, okay, no, like 5 billion worth. Excuse me, 1 million Ethereum, 5 billion worth. They're talking about 5xing the amount of ETH they'd be able to buy. Man, you guys aren't bullish enough. You guys are not bullish enough right now.
And what's interesting about these raises is, I don't know if they'll get 25 billion, but there was plenty of times. Many of you probably don't remember. Michael Saylor wanted to raise $1 billion, and it turned into 2.5. Michael Saylor wanted to raise $500 million, and it turned into $1.2 billion. Michael Saylor wanted to raise $100 million. It turned to $250 million. This past year, Michael Saylor was doing this and was getting oversubscribed for the investment rounds and was actually increasing the amount that they were willing to raise. I don't know if that happens with 25 billion, but the people saying there's no way he can raise that, well, I mean, the Bitcoin strategic reserves needed more And the Ethereum strategic reserves are just getting started. More upside potential. And I think that also gets fueled by what we hear from SharpLink Gaming tomorrow. Tomorrow they're doing their first quarterly report. This is the first quarterly report of any Ethereum strategic reserve company since the Ethereum strategic reserve started. That shows you how early you are as well, because that means it's only been 3 months or less for all of these companies. And I think they're going to lean on not only the future price expectations of Ethereum or their future buying power of Ethereum or whatever it may be, but what I think is going to resonate with institutional finance and resonate with other companies that might want to start an Ethereum strategic reserve is they're going to talk about the revenue and the yield that they are producing on a monthly basis based on the ETH they're holding. Now, this quarterly report is only through the end of June. So this doesn't count July and August, where of course they've really increased their Ethereum positions. But in those 3 months, I think they're going to say they've been earning between $300,000 to $500,000 worth of Ethereum per month in free revenue. And it's absolutely free to become a validator on the Ethereum network. So then they'll say, well, extrapolate that out. We have 3 extra Ethereum holdings, so you can assume that over the course of July, August, and September, instead of $300,000 to $500,000 in revenue, we're making $500,000 to $1.5 million per month in free revenue. There are many businesses that wish they can make $1.5 million in monthly revenue. They're doing it for free just simply by staking and compounding their Ethereum, and they're going to be buying more Ethereum. Then the lights are going to come on and be like, either A, we're a company that's thinking about this. That's a lot of revenue if we can get some Ethereum. And the market's liking when we buy it, so our stock price will go up. And, wow, BitMine sure has a lot of Ethereum. They're staking too. They're probably already making $3 million a month in revenue. So that's the waterfall effect that I think is going to happen. And I think that starts with the first ever quarterly report for an Ethereum strategic reserve, which will come out tomorrow pre-market open.
Well said. The audience approves. You know what's interesting too about this list? ETHZilla is not there yet. ETHZilla is the strategic reserve company which. ETHZilla is there. Okay.
Just lower. Well, they're looking to buy a lot.
Yeah, they're just getting started, and so they'll be working their way up that list. That is the company backed by Peter Thiel and other big wigs, very powerful rich people in Silicon Valley. So that one's working their way up the list. The other thing too about the yield, because I stake a little bit of ETH, right? And when the price is rising, when there's market activity, if you see that yield go up, I'm making I think 4% now. Checked the other day, it had been like 3% for like a long time. You're like, oh fuck, this sucks. Now it's cranked up to like over 4%, I think, or a little bit around there, and it could easily go higher than that too, right? As this market gets frothier and people are running more transactional networks, so on and so forth. So that 3% turns into 4%. That's looking really juicy for these companies, and absolutely, I think the whole narrative around ETH. When you talk to Wall Street type, I think they kind of get it more than Bitcoin. Bitcoin, okay, digital gold, it's scarce, it's rare. It's decentralized money, it's the first one, it's the granddaddy, but like usage-wise, you can't make any money staking it. To me, it's digital gold, and we can argue whether gold is all that useful. Whereas Ethereum, it's powering all of Web3, right? And you're able to generate this yield, passive income. It's getting burned. The network's constantly being updated and upgraded to improve itself over the years. I don't know. I think if you're a Wall Street type, it should resonate, or you should get it more and it click more. I think obviously that's coming true. Obviously, we see all Wall Street buying in now. So this train really just started rolling down the tracks. I think if you're selling now, you are a crazy person. And let's just see where we're at in 6 months from now, because I think we are going to be much, 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 much higher, likely even beyond that 10K mark that we've been talking about.
Yeah, it is pretty wild, because if BitMine they could potentially have $5 billion in Ethereum that they need to buy. SharpLink Gaming needs to nearly double their position, which means they need to buy another $2 billion Ethereum. You got the Ether machine, which I don't know what their proxy is, but I think their goal is 1 million ETH, so that means they need to buy another 2 billion Ethereum. And then you got ETHZilla down here, who laughed at 500K ETH holdings, which means they would need to over 5x their Ethereum position to even get to where they were laughing at. So a lot of Ethereum needs to be purchased. Will they be using this dip as an opportunity to buy? Probably, and that's why I think that the support after this waterfall effect is somewhere around $4,350 and will be a short-lived dip. and we might not even get there because this wick is already catching itself as we speak. So, Nick, why does this level make sense for major support? That's because it rejected you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Resistance flips support once you break out with volume. That's how it works. That's how the markets work, human psychology, and the bots work. So your major support would be here, 43.50, and then your next major support would be a bullish retest of where it broke out, which would be down here just around $3,900. I put a tweet out once this breakout happened that we're never going to see 3,900 ETH again. Now, that's a little tongue-in-cheek because there's always the next bear market, and of course, there's a possibility we go below $3,900. But I just wanted to show my confidence in the upside of Ethereum leading through the end of this year and beyond, that this was a major breakout level. This is a major shift in the momentum and the morale and the sentiment for Ethereum, and a major shift in the hold base of Ethereum as we see accumulators and stakers growing rapidly in institutional finance.
Well, let's also talk about why Ethereum is going to continue to rise in value outside of just, okay, Wall Street's buying it. There are fundamental improvements and developments happening on the base layer of Ethereum that it seems like the market believes is going to be an absolute game changer for it. I'll just share my screen here real quick. This is an article. What's going on here? Article I found just this morning. And it's two Coinbase devs and also the Ethereum Foundation basically coming together saying that AI agents, so autonomous agents, will be using and running transactions on behalf of humans on the Ethereum network to do like micropayments, to do trading on your behalf, to do all sorts of stuff on your own behalf. And this is kind of thing that, I mean, I don't know what sort of innovation's happening on Bitcoin these days, but this to me is like, if this comes to fruition, you add this to the fact that stable coins, you know, the Walmart coin, all the banking conglomerate coins that are going to go live here soon, the Amazon coin, all this stuff running on Ethereum. Then you got these AI agents running autonomous transactions on your behalf. Look, we could be here. This is where it gets into it. This unlocks a new kind of internet commerce. Large language model paying for model inference. Agents paying for context for task optimization. Apps streaming stablecoins for permanent storage. Self-driving taxis owns itself and pays for mates. And hey, some of this stuff may be sci-fi. I don't know how much of it ultimately will come to fruition or come true. But even if a fraction of it does, perhaps this is the, when we talk about this a lot on the show, perhaps this is the kind of, you know, Web3 innovation, the inspirational, like, let's change the world stuff that really had been missing, I'd say, the first half of this bull run, when it was just meme coins, degen stuff, and it's like, Web3's fucking pointless, it's just a casino. Now are we getting the innovation here to say this Web3 revolution is ready to change the world?
Yeah, we talked about this, really wanting this type of, you know, idea economy to come back into crypto. In early 2017, this is what got people the diamond hand to hold, to believe, and the charts absolutely sent. And of course, that same belief system is what made some people round trip. But on many of the good assets, the round trip is now, you know, a far distant memory. You got new all-time highs in XRP if you were around back then. You got new all-time highs, or damn near them, in Ethereum if you're around back then. Bitcoin, of course, has gone to multiple new all-time highs. Litecoin even is above $100, and your round trip was down to like $10 a Litecoin. So, you know, this is the belief system that is needed for markets to go higher. You need speculation, you need innovation, you need dreaming and outside the box thinking, because like you said, if there's a list of 10 of them there, and only 5 come true, this market is going to be much higher. The utilities that you have at your fingertips are going to be much better. The UI UXs are going to be much better. Because everybody who was around 2017, you know, tongue-in-cheek makes fun of the ICO craze and wow, it was a bubble, this, that, and the other. But then if you definitely take a step back and look, it's like, wow, back then DeFi didn't exist. You know, MetaMask was just not really coming around. Uniswap wasn't a thing. PancakeSwap wasn't a thing. Yield farming wasn't a thing. FDIC insured staking on Coinbase wasn't a thing. So although some of the fairy tales didn't happen and some things went to zero and the round trips have whatever, a lot of UI UX came out of that, and that's how we are here today at much higher prices, much easier use cases, and you're able to earn that 5%, 10%, 100%, 300% APR using these DeFi tools, because those were part of that list back in 2017. Just like the list you just showed, I'm sure some of those won't happen, but if 4 or 5 of them happen, we're going to be much higher.
Well, here's what happens in investing and, you know, technology development. The hype and the excitement always like front runs the fundamentals and the actual product that comes to market. So you had all these hype scenarios and the ICO boom, for example, and you can give countless examples. You can talk about the internet boom in the 90s. You know, all those companies that launched in like the 1990s in Silicon Valley that all went bust, but then like out of the ashes rose Amazon, right? So that the hype and the excitement always front runs the development and the actual tech and sort of the impact on the real world. But that doesn't mean those things don't happen, right? Just because there was a hype and a bubble, etc., doesn't mean AI is not going to end up changing the world. It is absolutely going to change the world, even if it's bubbly and frothy, and a lot of the companies will ultimately fail. Doesn't mean the underlying tech. Same thing with Web3. Web3 has, like you said, actually made tremendous strides since we first got involved in the industry, but I don't think has come close to achieving its like end goal or overall vision. And I think these AI agents are maybe just one small story around there. Roan popping in again. Shout out to Roan. We showed this on the screen. So talking about the AI agent news, massive for our pre-sale bags of Sonar. Absolutely. So maybe we've been talking macros and big picture. Maybe we could take it back to the nuts and bolts of what we do here at Crypto Paradise. But one of our core businesses and actually utilities for the Surf token itself is pre-sales. That's how we had a lot of success back in 2021 bull run. And so we invested in a pre-sale. This must have been, man, we're talking about 7 or 8 months ago now, back in January, in a project called Sonar. They're building AI agents that help you analyze the market and trade better, right? I think a wonderful application for AI and AI agents. And so they're looking to launch apparently in Q3, or maybe they stated Q4. I can't remember here. I apologize for that, Roan. But they are going to launch. They're launching on Base Chain, and they already have a product, and they have a community. And I know it's been a hell of a long wait, which hasn't been fun. But they will launch, and perhaps they will get a little bit lucky. If AI agents are hot at that moment in time, bam, that's all you need, and all of a sudden you could be looking at 10, 20, 50 times for the pre-sale participants.
Yeah, I mean, they could get lucky with the AI agent sector being hot. Also, Base Chain is getting a little hot. You see Coinbase putting some money where their mouth is and trying to get that marketed out there. And talking about AI agents coming to the market, we're also helping a project called Bear AI, which should be launching this month over on Pulse Chain. So we'll see how they can fall into this little hype around the AI sector, AI agent sector. They have live dashboards, they integrated Pulse Chain Network. They got other networks integrated as well. And they'll be launching their token on Pulse Chain with the token tax system. That will help add to LPs burn their tokens, and it also going to be buying and burning the Surf token for the support that we will be showing them and have shown them to get them to where they are. So hopefully Bear AI has some good timing, not only with Pulse Chain doing well and going up with Ethereum, but also the AI sector getting hot. And really on Pulse Chain, I don't think there is any AI projects or many AI tooling projects there yet. So maybe Bear AI gets the first mover advantage in that sector. Pulse Chain right now has kind of its core tokens and Hex, and then it has kind of the token tax ecosystem with PTGC that's going off, and then a lot of memes on pump.tires that are going off. Surf kind of finds itself in the middle. It's a meme, plus it's got the token tax system, but it's really a brand token of Crypto Paradise, a true community token, and maybe Bear AI can fall into that AI sector, and then also which maybe can fall into the RWA sector. RWA is talked a lot by BlackRock. AI starting to get talked a lot by the Ethereum pundits. Maybe there'll be a perfect storm there for those projects launching on Pulse Chain and drive some new users over there, and of course buys and burns for the Surf token and the Surf token holders.
Well, I'll tell you what, all those narratives, when the market's bearish, everyone's like, oh, useless, they suck. These products, these projects, these sectors within crypto, it's all garbage. But that's just because the price is down. As soon as the prices start going up, as soon as Ethereum starts running, greed comes back into the market. Everyone starts to look at these altcoins again and say, oh, you know what? Maybe that's not so bad. Oh, maybe there's some innovation happening over there. Maybe there is real utility. Maybe that is a good team. Maybe this is a undervalued low cap gem. And that's kind of how you start, and one of the reasons you start the alt season. So I do think alt season is absolutely coming. I do not think we are here yet. I think we are now in the Ethereum phase, right? If you're talking about the 4 phases of the cycle, we got the Bitcoin run. We already had that, right? Then the Ethereum run. We're in the midst of it. Let's see how long it goes for and how high Ethereum gets. Then that money starts trickling into the big caps. You got the big cap run, and then it's, in quick succession, I think mid and low kind of at almost at the same time, those last moments in the bull run here. So it's all coming. It's all in front of us. I do think some of our pre-sale bags are going to do well. Some of them probably won't for whatever reason. That's just the risk of being kind of your own venture capitalist, as I like to say. But Sonar is looking good. You mentioned YakDAO relaunching on Pulse Chain. You mentioned Bear AI launching on Pulse Chain. So the right combination of timing, token economics, team, community. Obviously, we'll be supporting them on the marketing front through Crypto Paradise, which is a brand that's growing as well. So alt season, it's all in front of us, ladies and gentlemen. Hang on to your bags here. It's going to be a lot of fun. You are muted.
Talking about Ethereum and Pulse Chain, the only Pulse Chain still we'll have today is we'll let Richard Hart shill it. He says, Ethereum is the Pulse Chain's test net. Few people like ETH as much as I do. Some say the best thing that could happen for ETH's price is for everyone to have given me all of the ETH. This is implying that he has that sacrifice wallet that is worth $1 billion and not a single ETH has been sold. Plus he has personal wallets, or people think they're his personal wallets, and it hasn't sold ETH this entire cycle either. That's what he's saying there, unlike the Ethereum Foundation, which continues to sell both on the market and OTC. PLS receives the benefits of the work of ETH devs do, but doesn't have the costs. It doesn't have the risk of pushing out new features. It can pull new features in as they are proven useful and safe. He's pretty much saying Ethereum Foundation sells ETH to pay these devs. Those devs upgrade Ethereum. You let the Ethereum upgrade play out for a month. Cool, it's successful. Well, guess what? Pulse Chain is just a copy state of Ethereum. So once that goes into the dev suite, it looks good. There's no bugs. Pulse Chain can literally just steal that code, upgrade their own system, and there you go. Didn't have to pay any devs. The Ethereum Foundation selling down the ETH price to pay developers to benefit PLS is kind of like ETH Foundation investing in PLS with their money, which is fair because Pulse Chain is giving so very, very much to Ethereum. So much buy pressure and so many free coins. Heck, I am one of the few people out there with the balls to tell you how much better Ethereum is than Bitcoin. If ETH is great, so is its faster, cheaper version, Pulse Chain. Crypto Twitter is all over the place promoting one thing I care about, Ethereum. You might as well promote the rest. It's good stuff. And that's where we come in talking about how Pulse Chain is downstream of Ethereum, does have more risks, but it is faster and cheaper. It does have upside potential due to the amount of Ethereum that is holding in those treasury wallets. And again, anything Ethereum does, Pulse Chain can take a month or two later once all the bugs are fixed. So we'll see how it goes, but that will be the Pulse Chain shill and the Ethereum shill today, right out of the words of Richard Hart himself.
Man, Pulse Chain's so undervalued, isn't it? It is so undervalued. It just takes him bridging like 100 grand over. Just bridge 100 grand over from that SAC wallet and watch Pulse Chain just absolutely fly into it 10 times. So Pulse Chain's going to do extremely well this cycle, and I think for all the reasons he stated, it's adjacent to Ethereum. It's Ethereum's little cousin. It's however you want to describe that. But if Ethereum is outperforming, and then you got the degens looking around saying, well, fuck, $8 grand for one Ethereum. That's and it's the market cap is near $1 trillion because that's what's going to happen in the next few months here. Or I can get the facsimile of ETH with a diehard sort of degen community behind it, Richard Hart bull posting, and it's sitting outside of the top 100 in terms of valuation. I mean, come on, folks, wake up the Pulse Chain.
Yeah, the one thing that we haven't talked a lot about Pulse Chain, we talk a lot about why we're bullish on it, but also it has the unit bias. You just kind of brought that up, and that's what reiterated to me, because you do have some people talking about the moron trade, and that's why people buy XRP, because they see Ethereum at $5,000, but XRP's at $3. That's a great deal. I can get a ton of XRP for $3,000, $4,000. That unit bias that all of us go through before you understand market capitalizations. Well, the same can apply to PLS. Even if you're talking about Ethereum at $8,000, maybe PLS is still going to be a fraction of a penny. And if it gets up on that on-coin market cap, on CoinGecko, and people are like, $8,000 ETH, we got $5 XRP, we got $1,000 BNB, $300 SOL. What is this? A tenth of a penny PLS. Even if PLS is up there at number 8, they're going to say a tenth of a penny PLS. And now those normies are going to want unit bias and try to figure out how to buy Pulse Chain. And hopefully by then it's on a centralized exchange. But if not, they can figure it out with Liberty Swap Finance. They can bridge over there. PulseChain.com, they can bridge over there. But that's something we haven't talked about. Pulse Chain does have that unit bias, because if it gets up to, drops some zeros, its valuation does get up there. but people will be looking at it on CoinMarketCap next to a $800, $1,000 BNB, a $300 SOL, and a $5 XRP. A 1 penny pulse chain or a tenth of a penny pulse chain sure seems a lot cheaper.
Well, you know what? That's all going to happen. That all can and should happen. But we really need Pulse Chain on some big centralized exchange. That's the thing. And I don't know if it's Richard Hart that's against it and a roadblock there, or if it's the legal issues, or which mostly resolved by the way, or it's the centralized exchanges not feeling pressured or incentivized to list PLS. But it's got to be on because right now, Pulse Chain, you got to be you got to be relatively sophisticated. You have to be somewhat native to Web3 to know what MetaMask is, to know how to bridge, to know how to get and try this new ecosystem. Nobody starts their crypto journey, at least in my day. Maybe now with Solana is different, but most people don't start their crypto journey doing MetaMask and bridges and alternative chains. They start on a centralized exchange because that's what they're used to from their brokerage account on Schwab or wherever. And so then you go on Coinbase, you go on Binance, you go on Kraken, and you start to play around there, and then eventually you get on the rabbit hole, and eventually you lead yourself to Uniswap and PancakeSwap and PLSX, etc. So I think it's got to be on a centralized exchange. I saw the Beard's crew doing some tweets to Kraken, which I liked and I think commented. Let's get Pulse Chain, let's get PLS listed on one of these big exchanges.
Yeah, and a couple days ago, August 12th, I did a reply to it. Richard Hart was kind of talking about these airdrops. So if you owned Bitcoin when wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum, when Pulse Chain snapshot occurred, you have the Pulse wrapped Bitcoin. Same for PDAI. We have a liquidity pool to surf with that. These P versions of all these tokens, and some of them have value, some don't. But Richard Hart is pretty much saying, how lazy are you? If you're a massive Bitcoin whale, you got this free version of Pulse wrapped Bitcoin that is worth like $800 or $1,000 per token, and you had that on centralized exchanges, they owe that to you. Those centralized exchanges that they simply just add Pulse Chain Network to their cold wallets, they will see all of the P tokens that they owe their users due to the snapshot, on-chain snapshot. And he's pretty much, in my estimation, what I said is he's not pushing to shill any of the P wrap Bitcoin or the PDAI or any of those. I think he's pushing for users to go to all the centralized exchanges, get in the comment sections, get in the help sections, and demand their airdrop tokens. Because what does that do? If the sexes do cave, they simply click a couple buttons, Pulse Chain is added to the exchange, and now they have all these PWrap copies that they can give out to their users. Now these centralized exchanges support the Pulse Chain network, and now the centralized exchanges be like, that was pretty simple. Maybe we should list PLS and get some free volume here. Maybe we should get some PLSX listings. Maybe Surf should get listed on centralized exchanges. All you need is these sexes to start embracing the underlying network, and then they can make the decision to actually list Pulse Chain assets. And I think that's what he's pushing at. The other thing is, they're always thinking about competitors. Coinbase, for a very long time, did not support Solana. They support Solana network now. Coinbase probably will be supporting, if they don't already, the BNB BSC chain soon. They always saw it as like a competitive thing, but now they understand, support all these networks, your customers are going to appreciate it, and it opens up a massive flood of tokens that you can and cannot list, because now you support all these networks. And especially for all these EVM compatible chains, Coinbase doesn't have to make new wallets. They simply add the BSC network in a dropdown. They added the base chain to the dropdown. They can add Pulse Chain to the dropdown. So we'll see what happens. I think he knows he needs sexes as well. I just think he, in the current position, it's not trying to be pay to play and pay tens of millions of dollars to get PLS listed on Binance, for example.
Yeah, I do think you need a groundswell of sort of retail interest to help make that happen. But also, you are a famous person within crypto. You have a war chest. You have, I'm sure, a team around you who can also help make that happen. Because if I reach out to Kraken, little old me, hey Kraken, yeah, I got $5,000 on your exchange. I'd love you to list PLS. You think they listen to me? Where they get a DM from Richard Hart, guys, I'll give you $5 mil. List my damn token. Okay, I'm gonna bring all my my army of Pulse Chain lovers and hexagons over to your exchange. You're gonna earn millions and millions of dollars on the trading fees. I think it's a little bit more impactful than little old me doing it. But I agree, it can come from both sides. We got Hex here. I think he's loving us when we talk about Pulse Chain, because let's go! Let's go, Hex Bull. Appreciate you, buddy.
The other thing with Richard Hart is when he says these things, I think he's saying that to get people active, but also this is his way of saying that he's working on things. Like this is kind of his covert way of like, I'm working on it, but doesn't want like, hey, we got listed on Sex, and people to be like, oh, Richard Hart did it, so I can be lazy because he's gonna do everything else in the future too. Maybe I'm just crazy in that thinking, but it just seems like when he starts hinting at things, he started hinting at, hey guys, you guys should do some IRL marketing, and then all of a sudden, a couple months later, he's like, oh, 1 million IRL marketing is just happening in the next 2 weeks. It's like, that's what I think's going on here, but we'll see what happens. Nonetheless, these kind of characters, whether it's Richard Hart, Charles Hoskinson, Vitalik Buterin, CZ, they really drive the market, they drive morale, they drive momentum, and they have big money. So when they're saying stuff, you should probably listen, because if they really want it to happen, they can kind of nudge it with 1 million here and 1 million there. And I think that's what happens behind closed doors. This is just their kind of way of hinting at things. And crypto's a little different. You kind of get this quote-unquote insider information, and you don't really get this at all when it comes to traditional finance, because the CEOs are so worried about going to jail for that kind of information, except for unless you're Elon Musk. He's just a wild card, been sued many times. But hey, he's gotten away with it, and the holders of Tesla have done very well. So
what's a $500 million fine from the SEC when the richest man in the world are worth like $100 billion or whatever? So I do think Richard Hart has the ability to behind the scenes pull some strings, but I do think you also need the community. Look, that's the strength of Pulse Chain to me. It is the community. So the community has to get behind these kind of tweets. Like I love when Ian Heinisch and B Roots or whoever did that tweet to Kraken. I love when those kind of tweets go out. We should start doing that from Crypto Paradise. Put a little pressure on some of the exchanges. Hey, we know MEXC, we know KuCoin, we know Gate. Not that we have big pull or anything, but why not? Let's try to make something happen there, because I do think for Pulse Chain to hit that top 20 of coin market cap, biggest coins, which obviously like 100x returns from here for Pulse Chain. We all want to see that. But it is going to take some centralized exchanges. It just you can't avoid them, So let's help make that happen. But I digress. Any other topics we have going on for today?
Well, I guess I'm going to share my screen because we talked about PPI to start the show, but now Thomas Lee is talking to PPI. So let's see what his big PP statement is on the PPI data. He says, today's hot PPI is just a graze. Number one, since late 2022, every dip has been bought. Number two, since late 2022, every dip has been bought. Number three, since late 2022, every dip has been bought. With regard today, C.1. Essentially saying this is going to be a short-lived dip. Obviously, the stock markets have not been hit very hard at all, so not much of a dip at all in the stock market, but 5% drawdown in Bitcoin, 5% drawdown in ETH, and so far, let's look at the chart, that is just a wick on Ethereum. It is getting bought back up. Who's buying that? Is it smart people watching this show, or is it the companies loading up on their Ethereum bags? I don't know. Major support down here at $4,350, so don't get left behind. If this does play out to like, we meander here for a couple of days and we trickle down to here and you don't have a big enough position, you probably should buy some ETH at those levels.
First of all, I love Tom Lee bull posting. I just love he's the man. He's like a kind of a soft-spoken dude. Actually, when you watch him on interviews, he's, very introspective and just sounds intelligent, but he's not like boisterous. He's not like some high-energy guy like me drinking like 5 energy drinks. He's like just a chill dude. But then you see this little different side of him coming out on X, little bull posting, little bravado there. I love to see it. So good work, Tom Lee. Keep doing what you're doing for the industry.
I think what's got him the bravado, number one, he posts himself with his wife and always gets shit because everybody's like, oh, you're batting way out of your league. He's got a beautiful Asian wife, You can imagine.
But he's a billionaire. What do you mean he's batting out of his league? Like, what are people talking about?
Wealth and power get you hot chicks, all right, guys? So make some gains and you'll get some life-changing gains for sure. But number two, I think his, he's always been a big Bitcoin proponent, but saying, oh, add 1 to 3% of your portfolio and traditional finance, but Bitcoin's coming in. But now he is on the board for the largest Ethereum strategic reserve. And when that happens, it is bound that a little degeneracy gets into your veins and you start being a little bit of a Chad when the green candles come out, because you can tell everybody you're right. You're doing in one Ethereum green candle, you are doing like 2 years of stock returns, and you are at the head of the table of the biggest Ethereum strategic reserve, changing your PFP to a pudgy penguin NFT. That is what happens when you get into crypto. That little nerd from a few years ago is now full Chad on display right here.
I'll tell you what, that is the fun part about investing in a bull run. You feel right, you feel smart, you're king of the world. Now, look, if you let that get carried away, you get yourself with some trouble and, you start doing some stupid stuff. investing in risky things, doing risky things, getting a big head. You don't want that. We've been there, and you got to be humble in this industry, because this industry will humble you. But it's the fun part of the bull run. It's the fun part of having conviction in something, right? Like having conviction to hold Ethereum through the tariff FUD, and when it crashed to $1,500, and everyone was, this is dog shit, the chain's dead, Solana forever, blah blah. And you had that conviction to hold on and say, you know what, I think it's going to make a comeback. In fact, I know it's going to make a comeback. That's why I'm holding on. And then, the last month, your conviction pays off. You're feeling great. You get to text your friends. Yeah. I told you to buy. I told you to buy, guys. You should buy. Text my friend and say, did you end up buying ETH when I told you a couple months back? Of course he didn't. But anyway, that is the fun part about investing to some degree. You can't let it get to head. You can't let it get to overboard. But man, it's fun being right.
The thing is, let it get to the head of Michael Saylor. Let it get to the head of Thomas Lee, because that just means they will keep buying every single top, and BitMine will be the next MicroStrategy, and they'll be buying ETH at 10,000 at the top, and then buying the dip at 5,000, and buying the $15,000 top. Let them keep loading up. Let them get that big head, because then they'll be so convicted that they'll never be able to press that sell button, and we go upward and onward on these scarce assets.
Well, I'll tell you what. Who else seems to be getting convicted here? I'm trying to share my damn. Oh nope, that's script.
One day this
Screen,
boomer will
not
figure it out,
script.
people.
Okay, here we go. You know who else is getting convicted? It looks like retail might be coming back here. It looks like retail investors, altcoin, Ethereum Google searches hit multi-year highs. We said this was going to happen. We told you, and there's data to back this up, that after 3 months of bullishness, of market uptrend, that's finally when the tourists, when retail, when the non-Web3 natives get interested and they start investing their money. They don't want to take risks now. They only want to invest when they think or they know it's going higher. So that takes about 3 months. So we've been in what? I mean, Bitcoin's been going up for longer than that. But Ethereum finally for a month, 6 weeks now, running on the back of all these institutional buyers. And of course, retail is interested again because, hey, you can make easy money now, allegedly investing in Ethereum. Actually, you can make easy money at this moment in time anyway. So we got retail slowly come back. It's not at the peaks of where it was, but it is slowly coming back, and I think it's a very good sign if you are in altcoins, if you're in memes, if you're in all these degen plays, this is where you want things to be. Look at that. Okay. Hey, last time we had this was the basically the top of the last bull run. Crazy.
Yeah, good to see. And we know when those searches start coming up, it does take time for people to get money into the market and get more money into the market from bi-weekly paychecks. Just wanted to shout out a Twitter remark here from Rob. Love seeing you're enthusiastic about Pulse Chain. Let's surf PLS, PLSX, PTGC run. Ride that wave. Also love seeing you still support Zen. Let's hope for strength. So shout out to Rob over on Twitter. I know the only comments we see here are from YouTube, so you can check us out over on YouTube if you want to get comments in the live show. Some people like viewing it on YouTube better than Twitter as well, but also the hub here on Twitter with 237 people watching.
That's for our good buddy Rob. Thank you for supporting us, my friend. Please do tune in. Continue to ride this wave with us. But yeah, look, we're all in on Pulse Chain, ETH, Bitcoin, altcoins, Zen. I don't know too much about it. I think it's probably going to have a run too, because everything's going to have a run.
You probably saw my shirt. Zen actually decided to redeploy on Base and kind of be the privacy layer over on Base Chain. So privacy is another thing that's starting to get talked about a little bit due to all the stablecoin discussions and people needing some privacy. So it'll be interesting. I was wanting Horizon to redeploy on Pulse Chain because Richard Hart is a big proponent of trying to make Pulse Chain kind of a privacy chain, and that would have been perfect. But Horizon's already a pretty large cap token in the top 100. Redeploying on Base with the elbows rubbing of Brian Armstrong, Barry Silbert, Grayscale, etc. made a lot of sense for them, and we'll see what happens with their token this cycle now that they're on Base Chain rather than trying to be their own layer 2.
Well, I think it's very smart to be on a tried and true established chain that has the backing of a Coinbase, for example, tied to the Ethereum ecosystem. We know ETH is doing well. ETH adjacent coins, ETH liquidity pools are going to do very well. Maybe if you don't mind going back to the charts that we like to pull up, I wanted to highlight a couple altcoins in the Ethereum ecosystem that are doing very, very well recently. And I think, look, you're going to continue to see this because as ETH rises, pulls up the liquidity pools, people in the Ethereum ecosystem all of a sudden have cash again. And look at that, Mellow Man, a project that we've been involved with for a long, long time. Love the founder, love the community, great team, great suite of products, great meme. I mean, everything. I think across the board is a 10 out of 10 when it comes to Mellow. And yet sitting sub 1 million market cap, finally a massive green candle today, I think on the back of, hey, people realize that this thing is way undervalued. It hit 16 million all-time high last summer, right? Just on the initial pump, essentially, when it first launched. Then, market gets bearish, all the ups and downs that memes go through. But finally, after Matt Fury dumped his coins, by the way, fucking asshole, we see Mellow running here. So shout out to Mellow. Keep up the great work, family. And we're here to support you guys.
Yeah, and it's interesting. This mark right here is 36% off the low is when we were talking about it in the live show yesterday. So you had many hours, and then in the face of Ethereum red, you get this 26% green candle here on Mellow. So if you tuned in yesterday, decided you want to dip your toes into Mellow, congratulations, because you are up about 30% on that position since yesterday's live show. It is now over 70% off the low with Ethereum red today. So let's see what they can, the hats they can pull out of the rabbits they can pull out of the hat. Do they have more marketing coming? They got more utility, some more buys and burns from that utility. And of course, if I think this Ethereum consolidation is short-lived and Ethereum breaks all-time highs, that Ethereum memes and Ethereum utility projects will benefit and will continue to go up into the right. So shout out to Mellow here on Ethereum Network doing well.
Yeah, I think right now it's a smart move to look for undervalued projects that have been out for a while. Look, we all love the new and shiny object, but the tokens are going to be highly bundled. It's going to be in the hands of like 5 guys, I'm talking about memes, right now. Whereas, you've been out for a year. Maybe we can take a look at Kai as well. Why don't we take a look at Kai? Another perfect example of, been through the ups and downs. This is the last Inu, right? The last of the Japanese Inus, also on a great run here over the past few days. And that is, I think, really because people are looking for these undervalued memes. They've been out for a while. Great token distribution, kept grinding through the bear market. And here it is staring at you in the face, sub $1 million, knowing the all-time high was 18 mil. And we never even went through a real proper bull run since Kai's existence. So Mellow, Kai, out for a while, great communities. I mean, good token distribution. To me, this is the kind of play that makes a lot of sense, especially compared to these new coins that, man, they're usually scams.
You know what's crazy about this Kaiken chart, Crypto Amaru? I haven't looked at this chart. Apparently, I drew this blue line on here back in June of 2025. So I haven't looked. We haven't even pulled up Kaiken in the live show in a while. We usually just kind of pass over, talk about what its percentage is. I haven't even pulled this up since June. Drew this blue line. Look what happened. Consolidation, and look where we're at right now. This thing is literally on the line. That is wild. That's wild. When things are meant to be, they're meant to be. So upward and onward for Kaiken on Ethereum. That's crazy.
Hell of a prediction there, folks. That's why you tune in. That's why you watch Crypto Paradise. We're getting a lot of these calls right. I know it's not easy pulling the trigger sometime on buying on the lows and all that, but Kai is still highly undervalued. Mellow's still highly undervalued. I mean, sub 1 million market caps on both of these. Been out for a long, long time. Tried and true narratives. People know about them. They're not some unknown commodity. The token distribution is much healthier than it was in the early days. There's no influencer holding 5% of the supply to dump on your heads. That time is come and gone. So looking really good for Kai. Looking really good for Mellow. Anything like this, tried and true memes on Ethereum, I think are going to outperform here for a little while.
Yeah, and then there is, of course, Floki. I'll pull it up. Obviously, this is a much larger cap. This is like the 3rd highest dog meme coin. Still holding over the 1,000 mark, which is what you want to see. And still holding above the 300 moving average. So you really don't want to see this moving average give away on the 4-hour. Otherwise, you will have some more downside. But if you zoom out here, what does Floki keep doing off the lows here? Keeps putting in higher lows. Higher low, surge, comes back down. Higher low, surge, comes back down. Higher low, surge, comes back down. Higher low. So constructively, Floki still looks very good as well on Ethereum and BSC network. And we know BNB is doing very well on their own rights. They went to a new high. Again, BNB keeps going to new highs and nobody talks about it. Went to a new all-time high, nobody talks about it. Down here, we were saying BNB is just going to teleport to $1,000. It quickly ran up to new all-time highs to $875, having a pull down with the rest of the market. But if you zoom in here, look at the wick on this thing. We thought ETH was catching its wick. Look at the wick on BNB. It's almost fully taken over and about to flip green for the day. $1,000 BNB might be too low of a prediction for the market end cycle for BNB. Maybe I need to reevaluate
way too low.
that
That's
one.
like another 15% from here. Way too low for this cycle. I mean,
they are ripping.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt that CZ himself controls like 60% of the supply and just diamond hands it. Definitely doesn't hurt. But yeah, BNB not really talked about. There's no one really buying BNB, doing strategic reserves. I think maybe one company announced that was happening, but hasn't really taken off as a narrative by any means. I can see that happening though. I can see that happening. I know CZ's been working very hard to get some clarity from a regulatory standpoint around BNB. And based on his prior legal troubles and all that. So, oh yeah,
this is the company here, CEA
2 weeks
Industry
ago that
Stock.
happened, yep.
So I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, obviously it's probably gone up since they announced it. But yeah, here you go. Here's when it was announced at $8.55 a share, mooned to $57 a share, came back to 17. This should have been on my radar with BMNR and SBET, I think, because they own, I think, 500 million BNB is what they're trying to buy, and their market cap is 25 million. That's why I pulled this up and haven't done anything with it. I need to make sure that the data is accurate. But it is very plausible that a BNB strategic reserve narrative comes into the market. Now, do I think it's a long-standing one like Bitcoin and Ethereum and going to get all the institutional adoption? I don't think so, because, Binance kind of has that USA versus China aspect, even though it's not really a Chinese company, but it kind of is. You got CZ who went to jail, so maybe institutions, are scared of, who knows. But I think there is a chance that it does have this moment in time for BNB strategic reserves, and I think BNB is going to go to above $1,000. So I need to dig into CEA Industries, see if we can buy it and see what the market cap data really is. If this is accurate, if this is really a $25 million company that holds $500 million in BNB, that's undervalued by a large margin. So, stay tuned. Maybe we'll get some information. Maybe we'll get a short form video or an official call, but I believe this is the company that CZ was kind of shilling when it went from $8 to $57 buying up some BNB.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think as this bull market progresses and as we become more risk on and greed comes back, greed is good, yay! Companies, CAC Industries may be the first one, but many companies, they'll look at Bitcoin strategic reserves. Okay, been there, done that. We can't make an impact over there. Ethereum strategic reserve, man, no way we can catch up with Bitmine. But look at all these other altcoins. Look at Solana, look at BNB, look at Sui, look at whatever coin you want to put in there from an L1 or L2 perspective, Arbitrum, I don't know. They'll keep doing it. As long as the market is sustaining it and interested in investing in these kind of strategic reserve companies, they'll keep doing it. And my guess is they just go down the list. They'll just go down the list of altcoins. And that might be a nice top signal, by the way. That might be the top signals when you start seeing strategic reserves on shit coins like Sui, for example, highly bundled VC coins. I think that might be a top signal, but I think it's going to happen. That's all in the cards. That's all in the cards. Greed is good, baby.
Yeah, let's look at Bitcoin dominance chart. Well, what do you know? The bear flag that we warned you guys about broke down. It hit the target to the T. Look at the green line here and look where it wicked to. We had a relief rally and then back to the 59% target. It looked like Bitcoin was going to run away yesterday when it hit all-time highs, and the market in Besant said, no, I sold all the U.S. Bitcoin for Ethereum, so we need the Bitcoin dominance to go down. That didn't actually happen. But that's what we're saying here.
I wouldn't mind it.
Now we're seeing, Bitcoin dominance sitting here right around 59%, which is what you like to see. We see some strength. Bitcoin back to 119,000. If Ethereum can surge here and if Bitcoin dominance keeps going down and Bitcoin goes to 200,000, holy cow, you guys are pre-rich right now. You guys are pre-rich, pre-life-changing gains, because that means your altcoin bags, your Ethereum bags, your Pulse Chain bags are absolutely sitting on the move.
You are pre-rich only if you can hold. Trust me. I got buddies hit me up, man. Yesterday, literally hit me up. Damn, I wish I held on to my ETH. Don't be that fucking guy. Don't be that guy that could have been rich, but you cheated out. Take it from a guy who's I'm feeling great right now. I'm feeling great because I held, folks, not because I sold after 20% returns.
The hardest decisions those guys have to make is when do they buy back, because you don't want to be the pessimist like Peter Schiff that grows old and hates on Bitcoin every dip on the way.
No, they ain't buying back. My friends are too
because you
stubborn.
never bought back.
I think once you're out, that's the thing. That's why I never wanted to sell all my crypto, even like at the height of a bull run, because it's hard to get back in once you're like completely out. So I just think hold on to some. Obviously, take profits. You know, all those good things. We're not there yet, but take profits into the year. But a lot of my friends, they sold out like 5 years ago. We all got into crypto together. You know, I'm old now. And of course, they sold out over the, you know, whatever intervening years to do this, that, the other with the money. They're not coming back. That's it.
It's crazy. Crazy. No, they'll come back. They'll hit you up at 10,000 ETH and say, hey, Ian, I'm back in the game. Here we go. And they'll get that
euphoria That's true.
of ETH running from 10K to 15.
For altcoin. They'll be looking for altcoin calls then.
Yeah.
They'll be looking for low cap gems. And we'll give them Surf. We'll give him Pulse Chain. we'll give him some calls on some low caps like Mellow, Kai, when everything's flying. So that's how it works, guys. I mean, that's just retail. It's the cycles. They don't really ever change that much, and so that's why you watch Crypto Paradise. Reminder of how these things work. Reminder to hold on. Reminder when to sell. You know, we're not there yet though. We got a lot of room to run on this bull cycle.
NASDAQ has officially flipped green, up 38 points. Pretty wild, and I guess that's why Bitcoin and Ethereum are starting to catch themselves on the wick. I don't know. If you tuned into Crypto Paradise, you were buying on these green circles looking for V-shaped recoveries, and you have continued to hit all-time high after all-time high. Down here is when Tim Waltz, Fagboy, was making jokes about your 401k becoming a 201k, rooting against the American people, rooting against your investments, and hopefully sold all of his own personal investments, and now is left in the dust. Not only did he lose the election, he lost all of his wealth that he didn't even have because he didn't have investment portfolios. He had to open that up and give that to you when he was trying to become vice president. How are you going to take advice from somebody who doesn't even invest? Even with the political prowess, the government subsidies, the government salary, he has zero investments. That's not the guy you want to listen to, and he's left you now. Dude, we gotta drag this up. 45% in the hole if he sold down there at his joke towards Tesla, at his joke towards the stock market, and at his joke towards the American investor. That is what we like to see. V-shaped recoveries and bull posting.
Don't let politics dictate your investment decisions, guys. Don't let your preconceived biases about Trump or, you know, whatever happens in the Middle East or whatever geopolitical stuff is going on in the moment in time. Don't let that impact your investing decisions. There's a lot of people who hate Trump, right? They want to see him fail. And so when you have that crash and the tariff fears, you know, they were cheering for it, which is a disturbing thing in and of itself. But it meant that they didn't believe in the market returning because they just want to see it go lower and Trump fail. But, hey.
On a broader look here, we do have a slight bearish divergence up here if this price can't get to a new high with the RSI, but we do have a bullish cross on the moving average. You have the 200 moving average crossing from below the 300 moving average and heading above it, as you can see here. When you have the shorter moving average crossing below the longer moving average, that is a bullish cross. This would be like the golden cross if it was on the daily. This is just on the 4-hour. But, I mean, it's crazy. This is just a slow grind up of the wall of worry. Everybody worrying for a stock crash, and this thing is just slowly grinding up. I did see that the volatility index is near all-time lows in, like, the past decade. So at some point, this market is going to lull you to sleep. The volatility is going to pick up, but that doesn't mean it has to be volatility to the downside. I am seeing some people on mainstream media talking about the VIX and talking about, oh, we need volatility, and since this thing's at all-time high, it's got to go lower, right? Well, maybe it's volatility to the upside. Maybe you see a massive green candle to the upside with, you know, the rates being cut and everything else that's going on in the global macro financial world. So I don't know. Volatility will come back at some point. Don't let the market lull you to sleep. But things look like they want to go higher.
Well, anytime the stock market dips like 20%, that's a buy. Because look historically. Just look at the stock market performance the past 50 years. Every time there was a dip, you buy and you do very, very well, and the price just grinds up over time. So stock market's easy game. You only get 10% a year, but it's easy game relative to crypto. Buy and hold. Buy dips if you have cash. You know, not that complicated. So do not discount the financial markets here in the United States to generate wealth over time. Just be in the markets, hold, have your diversified index fund if you don't want to worry about, trying to pick winners and stuff like that. I know that's a little bit of a trickier game. So have your diversified, tracking the top 10 assets, and you just invest in that basket, and you're good to go, man. You're good to go. By the way, treat crypto the same. Treat your crypto, particularly Bitcoin and ETH. Altcoins, different story. Bitcoin and ETH, treat it like you would treat your retirement account. Buy and hold for 10 years. Easy.
We covered a lot. We covered the PPI information. We covered Besant talking a little hawkish. We covered Pulse Chain upside with Richard Hart's tweets, Bitcoin dominance, and some Ethereum altcoins that we think are going to do well. Is there anything else to touch base on, or shall we wrap this up? I think we have an interview we got to get to very soon. I could be wrong on that.
We have a phone call with the EMIT farm team because we are looking to add some more products and tooling to the Surf token in Crypto Paradise. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, we're quite late to that call. Great live stream today. We are back tomorrow with another live stream. We got a Spaces later in the afternoon. So we are rocking and rolling here at Crypto Paradise. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. And until next time, we will see you on the beach.